Imagine a world where a single trade decision triggers the fall of an empire. Welcome to the riveting tale of how the opium trade not only hooked a nation, but toppled China's greatest dynasty. In this journey, we'll unravel the layers of this historical saga, exploring how a seemingly simple commodity reshaped the fate of a global superpower. Stay tuned as we dive into the story of empires, wars, and transformations that changed the course of history. The inception of the opium trade. Let's turn back the clock to the 18th century, where the British East India Company eyed China's wealth, but hit a snag. The Qing Dynasty wasn't into foreign goods. Their solution? Opium, grown in India to tip the trade balance. This wasn't just any opium. It was potent, addictive, and it spread like wildfire across social classes in China. What began as a luxury soon spiraled into an epidemic, bleeding China's economy dry of its silver. A storm was brewing, setting the stage for an epic showdown between the British Empire and the Qing Dynasty. The economic impact. Let's talk numbers and see how this opium craze really hit China's wallet. Imagine the Chinese economy as a giant reservoir of wealth. Now envision a hole in this reservoir with silver, the lifeblood of their economy, pouring out. That's what the opium trade did. The British were cunning, demanding payment in silver for their opium. This wasn't just a trickle of silver leaving China, it was a torrent. By the 1830s, millions of taels of silver are flowing out annually. This massive outflow is destabilizing China's economy. Prices are skyrocketing and silver is becoming scarce. But it's not just about the money. The social fabric of China is unraveling. Productivity is nosediving. Farmers are abandoning their fields for opium dens. Skilled artisans and workers are too doped up to work. It's a domino effect. As productivity plummets, so does the economic output. The Qing government's tax revenues are taking a hit, big time. They're struggling to maintain infrastructure, pay their officials, and keep the vast empire running smoothly. The opium trade isn't just a health crisis, it's an economic catastrophe, eating away at the foundations of one of the world's oldest civilizations. The social and cultural impact. Let's delve into the social fabric of China during the opium epidemic, far beyond the opium dens. This crisis infiltrated every level of society. Families across the social spectrum, from affluent to poor, were unraveling under addiction's grip. What's more, this wave of addiction was eroding centuries-old moral and cultural values. The pillars of hard work, filial piety, and social harmony, integral to Confucian teachings, were weakening. This decline sparked a widespread loss of faith in the Qing Dynasty, known for upholding social order and virtue. Amidst growing despair, China's societal structure faced a legitimacy crisis, signaling a deep-seated moral turmoil. The political and diplomatic ramifications. In this chess game of empires, China's battle against opium puts them at odds with Britain's economic ambitions. The Qing Dynasty, under immense pressure, faces a dilemma: curtail the lucrative opium trade and provoke British retaliation, or watch their empire's resources drain away. This tense standoff between contrasting ideologies, China's social stability versus British free trade, sets the stage for an inevitable clash, with diplomatic tensions rising to a boiling point. The outbreak of the Opium Wars. So things are heating up, and then bam, the Opium Wars break out. It's the 1830s, and the Qing government has had enough. They appointed a tough cookie, Commissioner Lin Zizhu, to deal with the opium problem. Lin Zizhu is no nonsense. He seized and destroyed over 20,000 chests of opium in Canton. This is a bold move, a direct slap in the face to the British. It's like someone smashing your entire stack of goods. You'd be furious, right? That's how the British feel. They're outraged and demand compensation, but the Qing government is standing its ground. This isn't just about opium anymore. It's about sovereignty and national dignity. The British, not one to take things lying down, sent their naval forces. We're talking about the most powerful navy in the world versus a Chinese military that's, well, not quite up to speed. The First Opium War of 1839 to 1842 is a lopsided affair. The British naval and technological superiority is overwhelming. China is outgunned and outmaneuvered. The war ended with the Treaty of Nanking in 1842, a bitter pill for China to swallow. It's not just a defeat, it's a humiliation. China has to cede Hong Kong to Britain, open up ports for trade, and, oh, the kicker, legalize the opium trade. It's a landmark moment, a turning point where the great Qing Empire is forced to bow to Western powers. The Second Opium War and its aftermath. But wait, there's more. The first Opium War was just round 1. The second Opium War, from 1856 to 1860, is where things get even messier. This time, it's not just the British, the French are joining the party too. The pretext? The alleged mistreatment of their nationals, and some murky incidents involving trade. But let's be honest, it's really about pushing China further open to Western trade and influence. The Second Opium War was brutal. Beijing is occupied, and the magnificent Summer Palace is looted and burned. It's a cultural tragedy, a loss of priceless heritage. The war ended with the Treaty of Tianjin and the Convention of Peking. These treaties are even more humiliating than the first. China has to open more ports, allow foreigners to travel inland. And here's the kicker, legalize Christian missionary activity. It's a total capitulation. China's sovereignty is being sliced away piece by piece. The Qing dynasty is exposed as weak, unable to protect its own people or its cultural treasures. The myth of the invincible Middle Kingdom is shattered, and Western powers are now calling the shots in China. The economic stranglehold and unequal treaties. Let's dive into the economic stranglehold these wars and treaties put on China. These so-called unequal treaties are like shackles on China's economic legs. The most notorious among them is the Treaty of Nanking. It's not just about ceding Hong Kong, it's about the concept of extraterritoriality. This means foreigners in China are subject only to their own country's laws. Imagine that. You're in China, but Chinese laws don't apply to you. It's a legal free-for-all for foreigners. Then there's the issue of tariffs. China's right to set its own tariffs is taken away. The Western powers dictate the tariffs, and they're laughably low. This opens the floodgates for cheap Western goods to pour into China, undermining local industries. Chinese crafts and products can't compete with mass-produced Western goods. It's like a 1-2 punch to the Chinese economy, losing control over tariffs and being flooded with foreign products. The Qing dynasty is losing grip over its own economy, and the Western powers are tightening their hold. The internal rebellions and decline of the Qing dynasty. The Qing dynasty is now grappling with the massive Taiping rebellion, fueled by dissatisfaction and unrest, partly stemming from the Opium crisis. This rebellion, led by Hong Xiuqua, isn't just a small uprising, it's a massive civil war, shaking the very foundations of the empire. The Qing government is stretched thin, fighting both foreign powers and internal dissent. The cost is astronomical, both in human lives and resources. This rebellion, along with other uprisings like the Nian and Muslim rebellions, is draining the Qing dynasty's strength. It's a period of chaos, weakening the dynasty's hold over China and symbolizing the erosion of Qing's once mighty power. The opium trade, in a sense, has not just affected China's external relations, but has also ignited an intensified internal strife, accelerating the decline of what was once a formidable empire. The impact on Chinese society and the rise of anti-foreign sentiment. As the opium epidemic and foreign dominance continue, Chinese society undergoes a profound transformation. There's a growing anti-foreign sentiment, fueled by the humiliation of the unequal treaties and the visible impacts of opium addiction. This resentment isn't just towards the British, but towards all foreigners seen as corrupting influences. Groups like the Boxers, part of the Boxer Rebellion, emerge, fueled by nationalist and anti-foreign sentiments. This rebellion, though ultimately unsuccessful, highlights the depth of frustration and anger among the Chinese populace. It's a society trying to grapple with rapid changes, both self-inflicted and imposed by foreign powers. The opium trade, thus, acts as a catalyst for a broader nationalistic awakening, albeit through a path of struggle and resistance. The long-term effects in China's path to modernization. In the long run, the opium trade and the subsequent events act as a painful catalyst for China's modernization. The century of humiliation, marked by the Opium Wars and their aftermath, leaves an indelible mark on China's national psyche. It becomes a driving force behind the eventual overthrow of the Qing dynasty in 1911 and the rise of modern China. The struggle to eradicate opium becomes intertwined with the broader quest for national rejuvenation and modernization. China's journey in the 20th century, through revolutions, reforms, and opening up, can be traced back to this pivotal period. The scars of the opium trade and the humiliation at the hands of foreign powers remain a powerful narrative in China's contemporary identity, shaping its policies and its view of its place in the world. There you have it, a comprehensive, detailed, and conversational exploration of how the opium trade shattered China's greatest empire, presented in 10 points. Each point offers a unique perspective, together weaving a story of an empire's struggle, downfall, and the seeds of its eventual resurgence.